You did
Yes,
not
I
answer
did.
the question of why the president asked the White House press secretary to come out in front of the podium for the first time and utter a falsehood. Why did he do that? It undermines the credibility of the entire White House press office
No, it
on day
doesn't.
one.
Don't be so overly dramatic about it, Chuck. You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that.
Well, it was the segment that launched an entire hashtag, and we'll get to that in a minute.
All right, but first we want to talk to Dr. Jason Johnson, poli-sci prof at Morgan State and political editor at The Root. Okay, what did you think when you heard that initially?
Well, I was not surprised. There were a lot of very strange things said by members of the administration over the course of the weekend. I think the larger issue, and we saw a lot of different hashtags about this, is I have real concerns about the ability for this new administration to establish credibility. When people are saying Spicer facts, when they're saying alternative facts, when you send out your press secretary to talk about something that can clearly and verifiably be shown to be a lie, it makes it very difficult for you to talk about more important issues down the road.
Jason, let's talk about that women's march that was coincided around the world on Saturday. What do you think? Is this a movement now? Was it just a one-day thing, or did they accomplish by showing the solidarity of women and men who were there?
Well, it's a good question, Ramona. The first thing is, marches are a lot like public relations. Like, it's hard to draw a direct line between a McDonald's commercial and you buying a hamburger, but we know if there was no commercial, you probably wouldn't buy the hamburger, right? The protests work the same way. We don't know yet what will happen because people were out there marching or protesting. I actually talked to a group of women from Shaker Heights who had actually come down to Washington, D.C., and they were very adamant in saying that we are not protesting, we're simply marching for women's rights and women's humanity. So I think the main thing is it put this new administration on notice that there are a lot of people out there who are saying, look, we are constituents as well. These are policy issues that are important to us. And I think down the road, a lot of these men and a lot of these women who are out here voting, who are out here in part of the march, they will be voting this fall and they will be voting in 2018.
Real quick, we're under a minute here, but as the election was going on and everything leading up to the election, there were a lot of people that were saying, you know what, it's not like Trump could get into the White House and just start writing executive orders and things change on day one. Guess what? Day one, there are a lot of things that were signed today.
Yeah, I mean, executive orders about housing, executive orders about the Affordable Care Act, executive orders about abortion, executive orders about NGOs. I've said this before. George Bush, Barack Obama, they made the presidency much more powerful than it ever had been. So now Donald Trump has the most powerful presidency in American history, despite the fact that he did not get the majority of the vote. So that's a very strange conundrum for this country to be in. Trump has an obligation to the people who voted for him to actually push through policy and legislation, but that's not what most of America wanted. So it'll be interesting to see if this presidency or administration is willing to understand that sort of complication.
All right, Dr. Jason Johnson, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insight with us.
Thank you.